In this video, we're going to be styling the About section for the band website we're building with Bootstrap 4. So hi there, my name is Kevin. If you haven't been following along, I strongly suggest you check out the other series in this video because we're up to part 5 now, where we're building a website using Bootstrap 4. We're on alpha version 6. And so far so good. It's going really well. Before we get started though, I just want to give a big thank you to everyone who subscribed. I've done this a few times now where I've said thank you to you guys, but we're up to over 1,000 subscribers, and really that's freaking incredible. I didn't know that it would grow this fast. It's taken less time to go from 100 subscribers to 1,000 than it did for me to go from 0 to 100. So like 0 to 100 was long, and 100 to 1,000 has been less time. That's freaking crazy. So thank you so much for everyone who has been supporting me. And thank you for everybody who turned out to the live stream this week. It was a lot of fun. There was a bunch of people in the chat. So I'm going to try and do those on a semi-regular basis. In this case, it was exploring CSS Grid for pretty much the first time. So it was a little sloppy at first, but in the end, I think I started getting a hang of it. And there will be videos in the future sometime, maybe in a month or two, where I look at it in a bit more of an organized and well-prepared manner. As I said, this was the first time I was looking at it. But that's not what we're here in this video for. We're here to see me build the About page. So let's go and do that. Okay, so here's what we want to be building in this site. This is what we want it to look like when we're done. So just a few quick things to take a look at. Right after, this is what we've already done now. So I want this to be a nice big 50% area each pretty much. With this text centered more or less in this area. And then these 3 pictures, which are our band members, they're going to overlap that just a little bit, so it helps, keep us moving down the page, or the visitor moving down the page. So we have this little overlap going there, and these do have a nice little drop shadow on them. So that's what we want it to look like. Right now, it looks like this. So there's a few problems with it. You can see these are kind of squished right now, and obviously we don't have our background image, and there's a few other things to take a look at. If we come and look at our section here, we have our section About, which is what all of this is inside. I have my container fluid. My container fluid is these 2 parts here. That's going to have the background image and this over on this side. So we have our column 6 and our column 6. And then down here we have our cards. These are done with cards that I've shrunk away because there's a lot in there right now. I'll have to get into these eventually, but for now, just we have our 1, 2, and 3 cards, and they're all inside of a small column. So before I actually get into it, I'm going to jump back up into my custom file here, where I have my font size, and I don't know if I did this when I was trying to fix my leads font size, and then I accidentally changed my base one along the way maybe, but these shouldn't be so close to one another. This font size is too big right now, and I'm getting onto smaller screens. It looks terrible. And even at the big sizes, I don't really like what that's looking like right now. So the very first thing, I think, I'm sure I had this smaller at one point, but it's been a long time I haven't worked on this, so I'm going to put to 1.3. Maybe that's a bit too small. We'll try 1.4 rem. I think that will look fine. Yeah, that right away, I prefer that. So I think that looks a lot better. My lead will stay the same, but this is better. Cool. And now let's jump back into my home. So my home page SCSS file here. We want to take a look at our About. So let's go back up. We're not going to worry about those quite yet. We're going to look at these ones, and I'm actually going to shrink this down too. I have my About title, and I'm going to call this one, I didn't do this originally, but I'm going to call this one About Text, because we might have to make some small changes in there. And actually, while I'm here, this one should be strong. And close strong. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to shrink this away just so I have my About title and my About text. Now, let's start off with my About title. I want it to have my background image, right? So a background of URL, one step back, my image folder, and I believe it's about bg.jpg, I think is what I called it. Save. Yeah, cool. Good. Now it's way too big at this screen size. So we're also going to do a background size of cover. And just to be safe, or not safe, but just to position it a little bit nicer, background position of center. Just to keep the middle of the picture always in the middle. It's a nice dark area, and I want that text to actually be right on top of it. I'm going to put that text right on top of it using Flexbox. So I could come in here and do it in my own CSS, but Bootstrap does come with a whole bunch of stuff already done. I have Flexbox enabled from the beginning, so everything is flexing right now. But a column doesn't flex by default. But we can add the flex property something by doing a deflex. So when I do that, nothing really looks different, except now this has a display of flex on it, which means I can do an align content center, and it should move align items. There we go. So that's going to center it that way, and justify content center will center it this way. Cool. And last but not least, that font obviously needs to be a lot bigger, so we're going to throw a class is equal to display 2. And yeah, that's pretty much the right size. Awesome. I don't even think I need to change that. That looks pretty good. Now when I make this bigger, I'm just checking. I sort of want it to be a square all the time-ish. So I'm also going to add a minimum height. Let's add, no, I'm just going to do a height of, and I want it to be a square. And right now it's taking up 50% of the screen this way. So I always want it to be, when I want this and this to be the same. So I think the easiest thing would be a 50 vertical width, because already the width is 50. So if I'm making the height 50, it should be a square. Whoops, save. Small change there. Oh, it's gonna be a little bit taller. Maybe I'll go with 40 then. Actually, why is it? Is that a, that's not, is that a square? That should be a square. Let's just go look. For some reason, it looks a little rectangular. I'm going to switch that down to, let's say 45. I like that. I think that looks good. So I'm going to stick with that. Perfect. So now if I go and look, awesome. So that looks pretty nice. So it's just always keeping sort of that big thing. Now my text here, I don't really like the fact at the large screen size, my lines are getting too long. So the first thing I'm going to do is, let's come down to here. Instead of a small 6, and I'm actually, let's just see where that breakpoint is. The small breakpoint's really tiny now. Let's switch both of these over to medium instead of small. So I'm going to make a medium 6 and a medium 6, so let's save that. You can see the flash of unstyled text there. It's because I'm using Typekit. Typekit tends to be a little bit slow in loading in the fonts. Yeah, I like that breakpoint a lot better because my lines are getting kind of short here, and then boop, it breaks. Awesome, so that looks pretty good. I want min height. I'm going to change this to a minimum height. Yeah, that's what I want more. Minimum height. Just on these times when it is narrow, I don't want it to be exactly 45. I do want it to match what's going on this side. And then that looks pretty good. And then as I get smaller screen sizes, I'm shrinking that down. So that looks pretty good, actually. I'm happy with that. This side needs a little bit of work. So that's, I put text. What was I thinking? I just did this too. This is what happens when I'm talking and typing at the same time. I want that to be about text. So we can do our about text. And I'm going to do some padding top. Let's just do padding. Padding 10 vertical height. I like doing padding. No, not padding. On all sides. VH and 0. I don't want it on the left and the right. Oh, but that gets rid of my default. Okay, I can't do it like that then. didn't think of that. So my padding top is, I guess I could do, let's just do this. Padding top is 10 vertical height. Padding bottom is 10 vertical height. There we go, and it keeps my padding on the sides. So that's looking pretty good. Now I still don't like this. Whoa, I also would prefer this as centered, and I want my text to sort of stop here-ish. So let's do both of those. This is all going to be done in the markup anyway. So I've my about 6. I'm going to switch. I'm going to keep my 6 here, but I'm also going to change it at large screen size. I'm going to say column large 4. Let's see what that looks like. So you can see now it's a 4. Maybe there's my medium. Yeah, so it goes there. Then it goes into that. So when I'm at the really big screen sizes, I don't have my text going all the way up to the edge, which is good. Now the problem is I find it looks really weird that it's stuck to the top here and there's this big space on the bottom. So we're going to get rid of that. And we can do that just the same way we sort of did this. We can use our flex. So I'm going to come on this one and I'm going to say that it's a display flex. Save that because it might change. Yeah, so it's putting it this way. So a normal flex is going to have a row which puts everything inside it in columns, but you can change that behavior by doing, what would it be? It would be flex column, I'm guessing. I think that's what they call it. Yeah, okay. So flex column. So now this has changed it into a column instead of a row. So my things are lining up that way. And then I can use my justify content center, and that should center it this way. It looks exactly the same because it was, but there we go. You can see it's perfectly centered. You might be going, wait, when you did the justify content center on this one, it moved it this way, and now I'm doing justify content center and it's moving it this way. So the justify content and the align items, it depends on whether you're a row or a column. So because I changed this into a column, the justify content is always doing it on the cross axis. So on this one, it's centering it this way. On this one, it's centering it this way because this is a row and this is a column. If you're not really sure about it and you're just getting used to it, just know that those are sort of the two things you would use to center something. So if you try one and it doesn't do the right thing, you just do the other one. That's how I like to do it. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. I'm happy with that. Let's jump down to here. So the first thing you probably have already noticed is my images are squished, and it depends really on the screen size at this point. So there they look okay, but then they get smushed and smushed and smushed, and it looks pretty terrible. The other thing I don't like, so the first thing I'm actually going to do when I squish this to here, like this is way too small. So I actually, just like this is switching over at the medium screen size, I actually want all of these to switch over at the medium screen size. So they should be stacked instead. Okay, now you can see that the images are still being squished. The reason, so I'm going to have to open these up now. The reason that they're getting squished like that is because they're the image, card image top is making sure it fits in the area, and it's adjusting the width of the image to match the thing, but they're not adjusting the height. So I have to add in image fluid. And if you're coming from Bootstrap 3, that was image responsive in the old days. They've changed that to image fluid instead of image responsive. And open up this one, and so now when I save that, they should adjust and no longer be squished. Awesome. So the height is set to auto now, I think, is what they are doing with that. Whoops, that's not the window I wanted to resize. So now it looks better at all the screen sizes, which is awesome. So I think I can, no, I'm going to leave these open because I have to do some work. Let's do the text first, and then I'm going to focus on pulling them up so there's that little overlap, because the text is the easier part of all this. So I want to go, here's my first one. So each one of these, the first thing I want to do, I have my container here. I'm going to call this band members. So this whole column or container area here is my band members. And then each one of these cards is a individual band member. And so let's do all three of those first. We'll add band member. And one more on my card, band member. Cool. So I'm going to save. Nothing should change there. Just refresh. The next thing I want to do is I want to style the text. Both of these texts need to be styled because they don't look quite like what they should. So on here's the singer and then what they do. So I'm going to come in here and give this a band member name. I can copy that. And for this, I'm going to call it band member position. And we just have to do that on all of them. So band member name, band member position. And you're going to see, well, yeah, this is just for styling the text, right? Band member name, band member position. Do you call it a position if it's a band? For bands, is it really their position? I feel like I'm using the wrong word for that, but that is what I'm going to use. So if we come into here, I can say that my band member name, we'll start with this. The font family is my sans serif. Did I do all caps on that? I did do all caps. This is something I could control here, but at one point, you know, text transform uppercase. You can do text uppercase, but did I make a mistake? Text oh, there we go. Okay, good. So that looks all right. And then I just want to check it, my bigger screen size. Yeah, that's okay that it's on 2 lines. That doesn't bother me. Uppercase, so that looks good. And now my band member position. I'm going to call, what do I want to do? I just want to make it lighter. I don't want it to be white. If you look at my original design, I'll pull it up. It's a gray color. And I know I have a variable of gray. So let's see what that looks like. Color is gray because I completely forgot. Oh, okay. This is gray. That's not what I want then. Okay, custom. Is my colors in here? Gray. So there's my gray. So that's this color. I know that Bootstrap comes with a gray light, so we'll use that. Variable, actually, it comes with a gray light. So before I even update that, why don't I just see what that looks like? Gray light. It's not quite light enough, and I do know it has a lighter and a lightest, I even think. So we'll try lighter. And that looks like white as far as I'm concerned, so we're not going to use that one. So I'm going to stick with gray light, but we're going to change what it looks like. So I'm going to come into my custom if ever it wants to jump over, and we're going to do my gray light. I'm going to do a lighten on this though. Lighten gray by like 40% maybe will be visible enough. We'll find out in 1 second. Whoop, that should go out here. If you don't know, this comes with Sass. You can lighten or darken colors like this. So you do lighten, you put the color you want, and then how much lighter you want it to be. That actually looks pretty good. The reason I like using this is it keeps the relationship together. So if ever I change this gray, this color is going to adapt with it, which is nice because I want them to sort of work together. So for me, that looks fantastic, actually. I'm happy with that. I think I want to reduce that space, though. If I remember right from Bootstrap, there's no margin tops on anything. It's always margin bottom. So let's just do a margin bottom of like 0.25 M. Good. Cool. That looks all right. Let's just go look. Yeah, nice. That looks really good, actually. I'm happy with that. And then it gets smaller and smaller, and then it stacks. So when they're stacked, I do want some space between them. So that's my band. I didn't even do it. So right here. Oh no, yeah, it'd be my band member. The individual band members can have a margin bottom of like, I don't know, 1M. Let's try 1.5. Yeah, that's better. Cool, good. So then they stack like that. That looks pretty good. I think they're actually getting stretched wider now than they're supposed to be. Yeah, they are. I think that's an alpha problem with the cards. I do know that we have the problem down here too with these things getting smushed and stretched, and I'm pretty sure the cards still have some issues with the alpha. So I'm going to chalk it up to that and keep on moving. But I'm pretty happy with that. That looks really good. So the only thing we really have left to do is to move all of this up a little bit, because I want it to, I'm hand gesturing, I'm pushing up with my hand, but you can't see that. We want to move this up so it's it's on top of this image a little bit. And again, it's just to help lead the eye down to here. So to do that, what do we need to do? We need to select our band members, right? I'm just trying to think. I want my individual, I think what I'm going to do, so I have my band member. We're actually going to work on that one. So I'm going to say that my band members is a position relative, because I'm going to use some absolute positioning to move. Do I need absolute positioning? Maybe I can do it with a transform instead. I was thinking I was going to need to do, no, I do want to, because I want my next div that's here that we can't see because there's nothing in it yet is going to be that parallax image that I want. So you can see here there's an image that's actually behind this. And I think the easiest way to do that, if these are positioned absolute, they come out of the flow and stuff can come up underneath them. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to, these get positioned absolute, stuff's going to fly underneath them. I do think that will be the easiest way to do it. I think that would be the best. So, what band members, band member. So all my individual band members will get position absolute. The reason I'm doing the band members is right now, the band member, I mean the individual ones, this band members is already right at the bottom of here, and I want that to stay there. If I did my position relative for the whole about section, these things would want to line up all the way at the top, and then I'd be having to try and calculate to get them all the way back down here. By having the band members, so the div that's already here, be the position relative, I'm starting here, so it just makes it a little bit easier. So you can see right away that worked, everything came up, it's ignoring the fact that they're there. Now obviously that causes an issue because I need to do a Z index. I'm just going to go with 100 so I know it goes on top. Okay, and now we need to move it up a little bit. I like keeping these properties together. Top negative what? 5M? Nope, too much. 3. That looks nicer. Good. Except now this doesn't look centered. Oh, and I'm going to have another problem here. When I go to the small, they're stacking one on top of each other because they're all position absolute. They're just stacking one on top of each other, which is no good, obviously. So what do I need to do to fix that? I need a media query. Bootstrap comes with a mixins. This is a nice time to use to introduce the Bootstrap mixins because I sort of need to. So what we're going to say is at include, because I'm using a mixin, media breakpoint. And with the media breakpoints, they have up or down. So it depends. Do you want min or max? Not min or max. Like min. Anyway, up. I want up in this case. I want up of small. So I'm saying from the small, no, not small, medium. I want up of medium because I changed. I did the whole site using small, but medium looks a lot nicer. And it's because they changed the breakpoints between 3 and 4. I used to always put stuff in small, but the old small is the new medium, so it's just to confuse us all. Oops, what did I do? Why is everything getting highlighted in red? There we go. Okay. And I'm going to move all of this into there. So what I was saying, media breakpoint up. So from the medium screen size and up, I am getting this. So this is exactly the same thing as doing at media and then your screen size. and saying the pixels you want, but because Bootstrap's built on, I just want to use the same breakpoint that they're already using, I can just use this mix-in. And it should work beautifully. And again, I'm choosing medium because that's their columns at medium, and below the medium screen size, they stack one on top of each other. So let's save that and see what happens. There we go. Awesome. So that looks good. Good. And then when I go back to here, book, there we go. Okay. I also forgot to give it their box shadow. So these should have a shadow on them. I'm going to have to check that shadow out. So I want a box shadow. Let's go back to my Photoshop file. Band members, drop shadow. I do have a distance on it, 6 pixels at that. Opacity is 30. I'm probably going to have to go a little bit, we'll see. I'm probably going to go a bit darker just to make sure we see it. Size 13. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go with an offset of 6, because that's what I had in my Photoshop file. I'll just do 15 for my blur, 0, and then an RGBA of black. And I said I'm going to do like a 0.5. Awesome. Keep selecting the wrong window. Yeah, there we go. That looks sweet. Cool. Now this isn't what it'd be on top of in the end, but still, that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. That looks good. And does the drop shadow make sense there? The drop shadow still looks okay there. So I'm going to keep that like that. The one thing I don't like right now is I have this space here and then it looks super tiny here. So I'm actually going to use this. I want to keep the same thing here because that's my padding top and my padding bottom. And at the small screen sizes, I want this distance to be the same as this. I want them to be equal. So right now they are. But when I get to this screen size, I don't want them to be equal anymore because this is going from here down to like right there. So this and this being equal make it look not equal, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is say the medium breakpoint, my padding bottom needs to grow. Padding bottom, we'll try 15 and play with it from there. VH, save. And I said play with it from there, but wow, that looks good. Perfect. So again, I'm not worried about the distance from here to here, or from here to here. I'm worried about the visual distance here and here. I want that to look equal, and that looks pretty much equal. I'm pretty happy with that. And then I still want that and that to sort of be balanced out. So when I'm on the phone, let's just go look. So yeah, at the small screen size, maybe that's a little bit too big actually, but let's make this a little bit smaller. Let's try like 6 and 6, and then I'll add it in here. Padding top becomes 10 VH. I think that'll look nicer. So about the text is there right away, then we get into the band members there. Cool, and then when I'm on the bigger size, that gets a little bit bigger, and then of course at the really big sizes, it just centers itself anyway. Awesome, that looks really good. That took me a little bit longer than I thought it would, but overall I'm really happy with it. Again, this isn't going to stay here. This is going to get moved down. We're going to get that parallax image underneath that, so we'll be doing that in the next video. But for this one, I'm super happy with that. I think that turned out really well. And I'm really happy with how that looks. That turned out really nice. I'm super happy with how that is. I hope you are too. If you have any comments or questions about stuff going on, things aren't working, just leave a comment down below. I'll gladly answer that. Hit that like button if you did like the video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, remember, try and make your corner of the internet just a little bit more awesome.